Welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military, veterans, and first responders transform their lives from the bedroom to the boardroom. Whew. Sweet freedom, right? When you go over and you get home and you take off this handy dandy mask, you can breathe a sigh of relief. You go over and you have to wear this because COVID has brought new practices into our lives. The funny part is, and it's actually more sad than funny, is that you've been wearing a mask way before COVID, and so was I. This month's theme is actually Take Off the Mask. This was actually planned out way far in advance, even before COVID came out. But I thought it would be key I tied it more to Halloween, actually. That was the whole reason for the message. But we need to not just take off the mask, not just physically when we get home, but when we get comfortable home in our bedrooms and everything else in our lives, we need to take off the mask, metaphorically, spiritually, and practically. So we're going to discuss tonight what mask we wear. And I'm not talking about the cloth ones I just wore a couple seconds ago. What places we put it on and how to take it off so we're free. Because COVID's going to last for a season with this mask being on. Most cultures wear it for the season of when the pandemic or when the sickness comes through, and the majority go over and take it off when it's done. This week, we're going to talk about the mask being on in the bedroom. And now you're probably saying to yourself, like, I already know what this mask is, and they're selling these things like hotcakes. But what does a mask look like in the bedroom? And I'm not talking about masquerade in any type of lingerie this month. A mask in a relationship is actually a defense mechanism we do to avoid pain. Just like we're supposedly trying to avoid COVID, when we put on the mask relationally, we're trying to go over and put this defense mechanism because we've had pain. We've either had pain in past relationships, or we've had pain in other type of factors to go over and to avoid, so we don on the mask. And this mask doesn't just cover our face and cover our nose, it covers everything. The only thing that is seen is the mask typically. Some of the masks might look like, and the defense mechanism might come up, is it might be a smile when we're not happy. The mask might be performing for acceptance. Or sometimes the mask is an attacking mask when a boundary or wall is approached. Or you could just name your defense mechanism because we have tons of them. And we do that to go over and to avoid the pain of being seen who we really are, because when we put ourselves out there, we've gone over and been hurt, and we've been hurt indeed. So let me share you my story, and then we're going to talk about the 3 types of masks that are seen. And this is all inspired from a great book called The Cure from John Lynch, and we'll put that back in the comments at the end so you can go connect with the content, so you can resonate with this. So my story is that I read the book The Cure. I knew about the 3 types of masks, and I knew those types of things. And I tried to go apply it in my life. I was applying it not in the bedroom as much because I wasn't married when I first read it. I was applying it more in a boardroom sense and in a living room sense. And what I mean by that is with my friends and my coworkers. But I never applied it deeply into that point. So when I went over and got married at 25 years old, boom, the mask went on. I was fully covered. And my mask was, I was always trying to go over and fix myself because I was hurt from my parents' divorce. I was hurt from my brother's death. I was hurt from the sexual molestation, the mocking, to make fun of everything else. And for me, I wanted to be loved and accepted. So I put on the mask of always new techniques, always knowing what's going on, being a know-it-all, and to go over and to basically tailor my environment the way I wanted it to be. For me, that basically destroyed my marriage for 7 years of it because I just kept covertly taking off the mask and then putting it right back on, saying everything else is fine, and then taking off the mask and putting it back on, saying everything else is fine. We got into the quote unquote DNA of relationships, the cycle of abuse. It was like you'd have the build up and you'd have the tension, and then you'd have the blowout, and then you would have the gifts and type of healing type things. So my mask was that way with my words. It was never physical, but all the hurt that I had from parents' divorce, brothers' deaths, sexual molestation, and all the other stuff from there, I put on this new technique mask. I was trying to live out this grace-based environment, which we'll talk more about as the week goes along. And maybe, hopefully, we can bring John Lynch in to go over and expound on this, because I would love to have him to go do this, because he's been teaching the model, he's been living out the model, he's written several books of it. But the thing was is that I was trying to live this out, but I kept putting on different masks to then go over and fix myself. So the long story short is it took, within the 7th year of marriage, that my wife was just fed up, and she spiritually kicked me in the nuts. In the living room, wasn't in the bedroom, because our arguments kind of went wherever we went in that season. And it was a revelation that I was just not loving on my wife as I should, taking all my brokenness and then tying that back into the marriage, not going and looking for healing, not going over and learning to love her where she's at. And for me, it was a rude awakening, and I had to figure out what type of mask I was wearing. Even though I read the stuff and did all those things, I didn't admit to myself what I was doing. So for me, taking off the mask, I had to learn what mask I was wearing. If you're wearing an N95 mask, it's a drastic difference than a cloth mask, isn't it? The breathing is different, the color is different, the straps are different, and everything else. If I wear a full-out ventilator and a gas mask, it's totally different. It's going to take on a whole different appeal on them. If you don't know what mask you're wearing, then you're just going to go over and try to things out. So I want to describe to you the 3 types of masks that Mr. Lynch talks about in his book, The Cure, and see where you resonate in this. So there's 3 specific types. You got the just fine model, which those people go over in their marriage, in their family, in the leadership, are just fine. When you go over and ask them, everything is fine as fine could be. Johnny's doing good, Susie's doing good, the marriage is doing good, our relationship's doing good, our communication is doing good, everything is just fine. But it's a paper-thin masquerade when they display that to their spouse and to the people that they go and work with. They're just fine. We have a lot of people that say that they're just fine. And the thing is that in COVID specifically, now we're realizing with the mental health going up and everything else and all the other things, is that we're not fine. We're not fine wearing this. We should definitely not be fine wearing a mask on our emotions, on our feelings, and to who we really are. So that's one mask. The second one was searching for the next technique. That was me. I went over and went through all that brokenness. I became a Christian, and I was just trying to scrounge everything that I could grab. I grabbed the book, The Cure. I grabbed the DNA of relationships. I grabbed The Good Fight. I grabbed all these other things. And I'm like, if I learn all this knowledge and all this wisdom and I keep going, something's eventually going to go hit and resonate. If I do enough techniques, if I shore up the grade and I start doing this in my marriage and doing this in my marriage and doing this in my family and doing this in my business, doing this in the military, on the active duty side when I was active duty or the reserve or anything else, things would click. It didn't work out for me that way. And the last type of one is the pedigree mask. The pedigree mask is the person that's already supposedly doing super well, doesn't even realize that they're wearing a mask, are quote unquote helping others not to guard, but they have, from the outside, no hurts, no malice, no anything. And they are the person that's like always does that. And they're not just smiling just because they're faking it to be fine, because maybe they'll fake it until they make it. This person doesn't even realize that they're wearing it, and they might be wearing several different versions of masks. These are the 3 major types of masks. There's many shred outs and different versions of this. You can take a whole treasure trove and go open it up, and there's a ton of that stuff. And the book, The Cure, goes more into it. So this is a short message this week. and they're probably going to be short messages. But the reason why I make them short is for you to go over and to think this week. As we're going into October and we're getting into Halloween, we're getting into the holidays, the most important thing that's going to happen in this season is the togetherness in the family. So why not go over and start really peeling back those masks that you're wearing? I still have to peel back masks. I still have to go back and be like, am I just doing another technique to go over and fix my marriage? Am I doing another technique to go and get things going? Am I doing this to go over and keep business up and going, or the military and everything else? So our superhero challenge today for you is, which mask do you think you wear in the bedroom? Go read The Cure by John Lynch for more details. Very powerful book. There's audio books on this too. That you can go do. They also have Cure for the Parents, which we'll dive more into next week in that regard. And for specifically tomorrow, if you like this topic and want to dive in more into it, tomorrow we're going to talk about, and I'm going to do some research on how these masks resonate in your marriage. So I'm going to have to do some explorative. And if you want to share some examples, we'd love to hear that in the conversation. We want this to keep going. So no matter if you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, the Easy Way channel on Roku, we'd love for you to be engaged in the conversation, especially on Pedopolo, which is your dynamic interactive podcast. So we hope this resonates with you, to go over and to take off the mask. And we mean the one that's in your bedroom that goes over and is taking out your marriage. Because at the end of the day, this will last for a season. And even if we wore this for the rest of our lives, it would be an inconvenience. Wearing a mask in your marriage goes over and can destroy your marriage for a lifetime. So take off the mask. And if you're struggling going over and taking off the mask, we'd love to go over and to serve you. We give 20 minutes free to every military, veteran, and first responder. And if you want to take your marriage to the next level, to go over and learn on what mask you're wearing and why you are, and really want to dive in, you can go to patreon.com/thrive-not-survive. And for as low as $5 a month, you can go over and supercharge your marriage as a marriage superhero and learn to take this mask off. Because again, it's uncomfortable wearing this in public, but am I going to wear this in my home? Definitely not. So I need to take off the emotional, spiritual, defensive mask and toss it out. All right, guys, thank you for all joining. Love to connect with you. It's always a conversation, always a dialogue. So put your comments in there. I am regularly watching this. We're still a one-man show, so I'll see it. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.